A dictator bent on rebuilding an empire. Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. Russia wanted less of a NATO presence on his border, but now he has a stronger presence, a larger presence, with over 100,000 American troops here, along with all the other members of NATO. Is any wonder, as I said, that 200,000 Russians have all left their country in 1 month? A remarkable brain drain in such a short period of time. Which brings me to my message to the Russian people. Now, Vladimir Putin's aggression have cut you, the Russian people, off from the rest of the world, and is taking Russia back to the 19th century. And second, we have to fight the corruption coming from the Kremlin to give the Russian people a fair chance. And finally, most urgently, we maintain absolute unity. We must among the world's democracies. When Pope John Paul brought that message in 1979, the Soviet Union ruled with an iron fist behind an iron curtain. It was a message that helped end the Soviet repression in the Central Land and Eastern Europe 30 years ago. 10 years later, the Soviet Union collapsed, and Poland and Central and Eastern Europe would soon be free. It was a long, painful slog, fought over not days and months, but years and decades. But we emerged anew in the great battle for freedom, a battle between democracy and autocracy. A battle between democracy and autocracy. In this battle, we need to be clear-eyed. We need to steel ourselves for the long fight ahead. We are gathered here at the Royal Castle in this city that holds a sacred place in the history of not only of Europe, but humankind's unending search for freedom. In fact, it was here in Warsaw when a young refugee who fled her home country from Czechoslovakia was under Soviet domination. Her name was Madeleine Albright. She became America's first woman Secretary of State. She fought her whole life for essential democratic principles. And now, in the perennial struggle for democracy and freedom, Ukraine and its people are in the front lines. And their brave resistance is part of a larger fight. People are in the front lines, and their brave resistance is part of a larger fight. The rule of law, fair and free elections, the freedom to speak, the freedom to worship as one chooses. Every generation has had to defeat democracy's moral foes. That's the way of the world, for the world is imperfect, as we know. Today's fighting in Kyiv and Metropole and Kharkiv, Hungary, 1956, Poland, 1956, and then again, 1981, Czechoslovakia, 1968. Soviet tanks crushed democratic uprisings, but the resistance continued until finally, in 1989, the Berlin Wall and all the walls of Soviet domination, they fell. They fell, and the people prevailed. Today, Russia has strangled democracy. Putin has the gall to say he's denazifying Ukraine. President Zelensky was democratically elected. He's Jewish. His father's family was wiped out in the Nazi Holocaust. In my own country, a former president named Abraham Lincoln, he said, "Let us have faith that right makes might." Right makes might. NATO is a defensive alliance. It has never sought the demise of Russia. Russia was bent on violence from the start. It's nothing less than a direct challenge to the rule-based international order established since the end of World War II.